Kia ora, good afternoon. I've just had a wee nap because I'm in pain. Oh, so as I said this morning, but I'm boiling a hot water bottle for my stomach, but it's just where my meshes are, my second mesh. So you'll notice over the last few days I've been posting this stuff on my YouTube posts about narcissism, about, how abuse isn't always physical. And it's been spelling out the hidden side of narcissistic abuse. And it's really been hitting home to me just what my ex put me through for basically 26 years. Because even though I lived with him right up until 22, I had been with him for 2 years before I moved over here in 2020 when in 2000 when he got me to pack up my life and come over here to be his victim, right? So I've been sitting here because today's the 4th anniversary. It was this time 4 years ago when he lied and got me locked up. And you will see all the videos. You can see all the videos from the night before he got me locked up, right up until the video I made trying to expose Santero when I was locked up, and everything in between. I documented everything, I recorded everything. I had to put it all out there because I couldn't afford a lawyer. See, while I've been sitting here in pain, my ex wasn't physically abusive. He was emotionally, mentally, and sexually and financially abusive. He was everything but physical. Although there was that one time he punched me in the face and cracked my tooth, which is why I get the ear infections to this day. And it was always, when he was physically abusive, it was during coitus, because it was the only way he could get off. But that was towards the end of our marriage, when he was starting to lose his grip on reality, I think, and falling in with the cult. By the time I divorced him in 2016 and then remarried in 2017, between 2016 and 18 is when he fell into the cult. That's when everything about him changed. The way he dressed, who he was hanging out with, the way he was treating me and the boys, like locking us inside, controlling all my money, controlling my career and that. And I'm sitting here in pain thinking, like, I've got to carry the scars of his abuse for the rest of my life. And looking at all the things he's done and putting those little posts up that I've been getting from Instagram, I still feel like I won. I still, like it. How do I explain it? I'm trying to articulate. See, unlike my sister, my beautiful big sister, who suffered a lot more than I did because she was set on fire and everything. She used to get dragged by her hair and beaten and all of that by her ex, and she had to have help from a women's shelter, and she had the money to get a lawyer to fight her ex when her ex lied to get her kids taken off her and all of that. I didn't. She had the worst of it, but she got the help. I didn't have the worst of it, but I didn't get the help. I was signed up to get help from the Wakefield domestic violence charity place, and they never contacted me, even though I had to do a whole interview to get signed up in that, because they were supposed to come and support me through surviving domestic violence, right? And I never got any of it. I never got any legal help. The cops didn't help me. In fact, they tried to frame me for things. If the police hadn't have broken the law, I wouldn't have suffered as long as what I did, because Chris would have been dealt with immediately. This time 4 years ago, if the cops had have done their job, my boys and I wouldn't have been in this position. However, I understood that there was something bigger at play, and the boys knew it too, which is why we just kind of braced ourselves when they took me away, and I just rode it out. I took every kick, every knock, every punch, every stab, every threat, and I just took it. And even though my body is racked with scars, because even though my first hernia came about because of my pregnancy, my second and third hernia came about because of my ex-husband. Because he didn't help me, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. The doctor said after my surgeries that I was not, after my first and second surgery, I wasn't allowed to move for 14 days. I was to sit in a chair and I was only to move, to go to the bathroom and to wash. But my ex dropped me off from my surgeries and went back to work with a newborn baby and a toddler. And my newborn baby was 10 pounds, 6 ounces. And I had to carry baskets of washing, and I had to get up and, feed my kids and that, because, I'm a mum, I'm not going to, And so I got a second hernia within a few months, and then the same thing happened the second time, and I got a third hernia. So now I'm sitting here with a hot water bottle on my stomach in the middle of summer because of my ex. I lost consciousness twice in front of my babies. And I got the blame because he had to come back from his job in England in order to look after the boys when I had my second hernia operation, where I almost died. My body is covered in scars. My abdomen is covered in scars. My shoulder is covered in scars. I will forever be suffering from the pain of what my ex did, but I survived. And of all the things he did, looking at that list, of all the things that he did, looking at the list since I've been posting them, I realised there's two things he couldn't take from me. Even though he took everything else, my dignity, my pride, my ego, even though that wasn't necessarily a bad thing, there's two things he couldn't take from me: my intelligence and my creative mind. The interesting thing is about my intelligence is I took an IQ test last year, and Musk has hidden it. I don't know why. He's such an odd little man. But yeah, my IQ test on my ex, it's completely vanished. He's hidden it. I don't know why, but when you're dealing with like people that aren't mentally ill there, it's hard to reason with their behaviour. But it was there a few days ago, and now it's vanished. My IQ test that I took last year, because I posted it. Maybe he's jealous. I don't know. But basically, what it was is that my IQ. I took an IQ test when I was 32, and then I took one last year at 52. And in 20 years, my IQ's gone up by over 22 points. And not only that, but my IQ test said that I'm in the top 8% of Britain's problem solvers. And that my mind works so fast that I'm in the top 2% percentile of when it comes to how fast you work out problem solving, and that's probably why they hid it, because they're as thick as pig shit, and they're threatened by the fact that according to this IQ test, I'm in the top 10 percentile of the British intellect on the as far as IQs are concerned. I'm like in the top 8 and 2% when it comes to things like problem solving and how fast I'm able to work out problems and, that sort of thing. For some reason, he's hidden the test, but like I said, he's an odd little man. It's why I'm good with my investigations and stuff. It's why I'm able to offer people advice. It's why I'm able to spot things. Like with those cops' uniforms, with Henry's death, how they wore no identifying markers that they were in the police force, even though it says they're in the police. Because under British law, you're supposed to, if you're a police officer, you're supposed to have your collar numbers and all of that on you. Otherwise, it's considered, you can be suspected as committing fraud, as like impersonating a police officer. If you're a police officer, you have to have identifying markers that you're a police officer. Otherwise, you can be under suspicion of fraud, right? So I spot things. And this is why my intelligence was such a threat to them, because I spot things that anybody else wouldn't spot. And I don't know why he had my IQ test. I'm still having trouble with everyone's having trouble with their ex. Ex has just completely lost its mind at the moment, but I saw it a few days ago and now it's gone. My IQ test, but it is there. I did see it. It is there, but he's hidden it for some reason. But that just goes to prove how petty they are and how threatened they are. These men, Musk, Trump, Starmer, Chris, they're the sort of men who are threatened by strong, intelligent women, and they hate the fact that I keep getting smarter because Chris knows I took the first IQ test and he knows how high my IQ was back then. And my boys know how high my IQ is now. And they won't be able to stand that. And that's one thing they couldn't take from me. For all the drugs that they tried to put into my system, for all the abuse, the narcissistic abuse of constantly telling me how dumb I was, how lazy I was, how useless I was, how none of my ideas were very good, and how, I was never going to achieve anything. It was all just because they wanted me to not try, because they were stealing everything from behind my back. Anyway, Trump, Musk, and Chris have stolen from me ideas, speeches, manifestos, sciences, books, products, all of it. And that's the other thing, my creativity. Of all the things that he couldn't take from me, he couldn't take my creativity. And when you look at all the things I've created since I got locked up right up until now, it's 100 times more productive. I've been 100 times more creative and more productive since he got me locked up than I ever was before he got me locked up, because he's been removed from the picture. And so he's no longer feeding my brain negativity and feeding me food with drugs in it, and feeding my mind toxicity. And that's the thing, when you're dealing with narcissistic abuse, and when you're a high functioning creative empath, you will be a victim of narcissistic abuse, whether it's coming from your parents, siblings, your bosses, relationships. You are going to experience it. They're the greatest test of all, because they're the ones, your narcissistic abuser is the one who has been sent to try and kill off everything that's good and pure about you, everything that's wholesome about you. And then, because when they start to lose, that's when they start to bring other people in on the fight, because then they want you to think, well, if everybody else is saying this about me, it must be true. That saying, we can't all be wrong. But when you're talking about narcissists and their cult following, they bring other people in on it to try and strengthen numbers, to try and bring you down. But the only way they can get to you is if they get in your head, and that's where you have to be strongest. And this is where I come in with my radio shows and my little, Oracle of Delphines and all of that, because I'm here to give you the confidence and the strength to be able to say, get your mind strong first. You have to be strong enough to be able to let what they say about you to other people, to doctors, lawyers, judges, your friends, family, your bosses, your whoever. You have to be strong enough to have the presence of mind to know that if you know what they're saying about you isn't true, you cannot take it to heart. You cannot take that on board, because they can hit you and kick you and punch you and give you bruises all over your body as much as they like, but physical wounds heal. It's when they get in your head that ends up deteriorating you. And when you have, the narcissistic abuse where there's gaslighting and where they're constantly feeding you fear to the point where, like, your cortisol is so high, you can't sleep, you can't eat, you're nervous, you're jumpy, you have the short-term memory loss, your periods stop, you're sick all the time, you have symptoms of fibromyalgia, your body's racked with pain, all that sort of thing. That's when you know they've gotten into your head. And that's where it becomes dangerous. So you have to learn to be your own truth teller. If there are a million people telling you that there's something wrong with you, or that you're a bad person, or you're this, that, and the other, when you know in your heart it's not true, listen to your heart, because your heart never lies. And I always knew that I wasn't dumb. I always knew I was strong. I always knew I was creative. I always knew, because my mum used to tell me, don't let anyone tell you you're dumb. Don't let anyone tell you you're not creative. Don't let anyone tell you that you're not here for something special. And my mum was the sort of person, even though she was like, abusive in that, she was the one that explained to me as a child what a real empath was, like a real empath. Not what people think an empath is now, but a real one. And she knew I was an empath. And my mother wasn't overly affectionate. When she showed affection, it was a rare, special, beautiful moment. She wasn't, how do I put it? She was physically abusive, but I understand where she's coming from. I understand that she was broken herself because of her father. But, we were always fed. She always had our backs. She had her demons, but at the same time, when she was an angel, you felt it like, well, I say the force of 1,000 suns. She'd call you Bub. And in my culture, when you're called Bub, that's something really special. And or Bubba, Bub or Bubba. But when, Māori women and that call you Bub, it's something special. It goes beyond that of someone, the love of a child. It's something personal and special that you hold dear in my culture. And she would always say, Bub, don't let anyone tell you you're stupid, because when I got kicked out of school at 14, don't let anyone tell you you're stupid. And then I got a degree in, I got my esthetician's degree, where I specialised in sports and therapeutic massage. I got the second highest test scores in the school, and I was the youngest to get I was the youngest person in the Australian College of Beauty Therapy, which is also the London College of Beauty Therapy, the youngest person to get the highest marks, those marks. And that's when Mum, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe, I was getting, like, I got 89% and 100% and, that sort of thing. And in my exams for massage and for when I got my diploma and stuff. And that's when Mum said, don't ever let anyone tell you you're stupid. She said, I've always known you're not stupid, because people assume if you get kicked out of school at 14, you must be dumb. And, and I always, if my mum's saying I'm not dumb, then I know I'm not dumb. And then Chris comes along, that's such a dumb idea, that's such a stupid idea. Like, where's your head at? you know, that sort of thing. And to keep me down, hammer me down, because I I knew it meant I was creating things that were superseding anything that he was involved in, because as an art director for a games company and an artist and a photographer and all of that, he was having his stuff displayed in art galleries, and and yet here I was coming along creating these ideas where people were like, oh my god, that's genius. And he hated that. He even said my dating app was genius. He said the food I was creating was absolutely gorgeous. He loved my sauces. And even when we were living in Liverpool, long before we had children, and that, even before my mum died, my mum died, he used to say he was going to retire on my sauce. But back then, I only had my barbecue sauce. But now, when you see I put the messages up the other day, where he was like that my sauces were gorgeous, it became a threat to him, because little did I know, he had a bakery and was trying to steal my products and that, behind closed doors. When I got locked up, he opened up that cake stall, Psycho Bakes Wakefield cake stall, and so he was trying to get into the food industry based on my cakes and ideas and stuff, but it failed. And then, of course, all my products, like my honey of Isis oil for my sister Laurie that I created when she was dying, then he tried to steal that and sell it as pagan ritual oils. And that's why he was telling me I was dumb and stupid, because he wanted to take everything out from under me and leave me with no confidence and no fight in me to defend what I was creating. But he forgot one thing: my love of the children and my love of God. Because it's my love of God that I had faith to fight the fight, even though I had no one fighting in my corner other than one sister on the other side of the world who was doing her absolute best to get me my phone back, to get me off the medication, to get me medical treatment for my scars splitting open. She was on the phone to those doctors and, talking to Tracy, my community care worker and all that. She was fighting for me as hard as she could, and it left her with PTSD. She can't talk about what happened to me now without breaking into tears, because she said, I've never been so scared in all my life. I thought they were going to kill you. She said, I really thought you were going to end up dead. She said, and the thought of losing you, she said, I felt so helpless. She said, I've never felt so helpless in all my life. And her husband, her ex, did to her with her boys what mine did, except her boys stood by Erin. So when they stole the Dear Satan cause and turned my character Erin into a little boy, and then that Tia Darling stole my sister's identity for her little social media posts and stuff like that, that's not just illegal, obviously, but it was highly offensive because they stole my sister's identity. There's a reason why the story was created with my sister in it. And they just pushed all that aside just to make a few dollars or to get a few likes and subscribes on their posts. They stole my sister and my story together, and they thought they were going to get away with it. They thought they weren't going to be found out, but they underestimated my intelligence and they underestimated my creativity, because when you combine my intelligence with my creativity, you get quantum magnetics. And they haven't been smart enough yet to figure out that when I say, if I see it in my head and I write it down, I manifest it, just how powerful that's actually been in helping be the reason why they're all getting torn down, why they're all losing everything now, why they're all fighting the courts, why they're losing their reputations, why they're being mocked on social media, why people are turning on them, why they're now becoming the most hated people in the world. And the one thing a narcissist does not want you doing is being strong and confident, because then they can't break you. And the one thing they need in order to be able to win is to break you. They've tried all sorts of tactics on me, psychological tactics, and tried to use the AI, mind control, all that bullshit, that stuff that I had on Facebook with my friend in New Zealand. And they've tried, believe me, they've tried. They've tried to have my heart broken. They've tried to diminish my integrity, destroyed my ego, like I said, but that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. But it's almost like when you recognise what your abuser's doing and you get it in your head, I'm nothing like what they say that I am, and if any of it's true, I'm going to work on it to better myself, to prove I'm better than them, and I'm never ever going to be what they want me to be. It becomes the greatest tool in your arsenal in order to survive it and beat them at their own game. Because what happens is, when you figure it out, when you clock exactly what it is they're doing, why they're doing it, and what you can do to survive it, it becomes like a jackhammer that starts pounding away at the concrete they try to put on your life, because they want to cement you down. They want to cover you up and cement over you so nobody knows you're there, so that people are free to just walk all over you, and there's nothing you can do because you're weighed down by the weight of everything that they poured on top of your life and your psychological mind. But if you keep it in your head when you're in the underworld, I'm nothing like what they say they are. I'm nothing like what they say I am. And you know it in your heart. You are not a whore, you're not a drug addict, you're not a this, you're not a that, you're not crazy, you're not. And you just keep focusing on being determined to get out of that situation and bring justice to us and to it and all that. And focus on use your medium, like whether it's you're a writer, an artist, a programmer, a musician, whatever your medium is, whatever your gift is that they find such a threat, use that to distract your mind from the targeted attacks and abuse, because it ends up being the jackhammer. Because then it gives you focus. And with me, they underestimated my determination to save those children in the name of God. God put me here to save those children. God put me here to speak up about animal conservation and animal abuse. God put me here to protect the 3 keys of human evolution: children, animals, and nature. And they underestimated my determination to complete my mission for God. They also underestimated my loyalty to God. They wanted me to turn my back on God, because they're the Antichrist, right? So they wanted me to hate God. Why is God doing this to me? And how dare you? And blah, blah, blah. And I didn't. I would moan and get impatient and say, when's it, come on. Ugh. But only because I can see what I'm creating. My light at the end of the tunnel is the light of creation. And I've got these awesome movies and these awesome video games and these awesome musicals and radio shows and books and TV shows and cartoons, and they're all there ready to go. And I see what I've created at the end, and it's like, that's where I'm going. That's my end point. And I'm so close. I'm so close. It's like I can see it in my mind's eye. I can see exactly where I'm going. I just don't know where it is. What country? I don't know. That's the last piece of the puzzle. One of the links when I was trying to find my IQ test, one of the links I found, remember I said there was that police officer, PC June, who told me about the eight steps for murder, or whatever it's called. You know, that book that was written, it talks about, there's 8 signs that you're headed towards being a victim of domestic murder. And I was at number 7. I've put the link in there. I also found a link to a post with Keir Starmer where he's written to all the Labour voters, where he's talking about how if they vote for him, he's not going to do anything to affect pensioners. And then the other day he came out and said that his pensions are going to be charged an inheritance tax. That's against the law, by the way. It's actually against the law. He's committed election fraud. Under British law, see, with American law, punishable lies, you're not allowed to take money during an election based on a promise that you then don't deliver. Donald Trump did that all over the place. But under British law, you are not allowed to promise something to a voter in order to get the vote and then do the opposite. And this letter from Keir Starmer, he promises not to affect pensions. And it's an actual letter with his face on it and his signature and everything. And it's right there in the link in the description box. So that's an election law. That's election fraud. He lied to get votes. He's done the opposite. Whereas in America, they're allowed to lie, but they're not allowed to lie to take money from it. So there's the difference. So my IQ went up by 22 points just in the time I got to, got to escape Chris. And in the 4 years of having 4 years today, having to do my own investigation and find my own laws and all of that, my IQ went up 22 points. And apparently your IQ reaches its highest peak between the age of 52 and 64 or something. So they made me smarter. They made me more intelligent. They raised my IQ. They raised my EQ. They raised my id. They raised me up. They elevated me by trying to push me down, underestimating my strength and my determination and my faith in God and the oath that I took to my children and the kids that I was helping, fight the coalition of Epstein back in the days of my blog days and that. You know, you see the videos of me with the orbs and that on my YouTube. Because I'm a woman of my word, and if I say I'm going to do something, I do it, because I have integrity and I have honour, and I don't lie, and if I promise someone I'm going to do something, I do it. I don't make false promises. Excuse me, I'm a person of action, not just of word, because my honour is everything to me. And so, if I make a bet and I lose, I do it. I lost a bet to Thomas, and I'm paying that off every month. He didn't even realise I was paying it off. And he said, I have to give you respect for being a woman of your word. And I am a woman of my word. And if I tell those kids back then, I'm going to do everything I can to build this school. The only thing is that I said I was going to do everything I could to get to America. Well, I mean, that might still be possible, but I don't know. But it's not going to, the where I do it doesn't matter as much as the fact that I'm doing it. And because of what they put me through with the first thing I did when I was locked up was I did a study into biorhythmic healing, because they took took my phone from me, and I couldn't heal from the pain, you know, because I was being tortured and my scars were starting to get infected. And yeah, it was before they split open and got infected, but they were starting to get inflamed. So I did a study on biorhythmic healing. That was the first thing I did. And then that ended up turning me into a biorhythmic engineer, because then I remembered the work that I'd done on the prospect of creating a kinetic engine where you use your mind to drive the car, but realizing that was a bad idea for anyone who was psychologically unstable. I mean, Elon Musk. I really truly believe that he tries to use his mind to control some of the stuff, and this is why it keeps crashing or breaking, because he's insane. He's not right in the head. So that's when I thought, well, kinetic engines are unstable. Where you use proper kinetic, telekinesis and that to drive the car. So then I came up with the biorhythmic field generator instead. So, but if I hadn't have been locked up, I wouldn't have developed that. And then I wouldn't have written, and then they were gone, which is the story about the little girl B who uses the biorhythmic field generator to shut the portal down between her and seeing all the dead people when she goes to visit her nana in hospital. And then when I was locked up, I also wrote with a little help from my friends, which has now turned into something epic, because from that, which was kind of like a spin-off to Lucian's Dragon, which back then was Andre's Dragon, which has also become the Amber Rose. And my third comic, and also my RPG LARPing D&D game that I was creating with my son, Your War 2, which I want to turn into, like our version of D&D and Warhammer and all that, but also a video game and a comic book. And then everything else after that, it just flowed out of me. It's like the plug got pulled. When he pulled the plug on my life, he thought I was going to go down the drain. But instead of being stuck in the sewers, it took me out into the ocean, where I got to become Delphine. I got to become the dolphin and swim with whales, and everything I created became another drop in the ocean that made my ocean bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And now I'm in my little boat and I've turned into the cosmic whale. When that whale came and swallowed me up in that dream and blew me out the blowhole, turned me into the cosmic whale to show me what it was I was creating at the end of being stranded out at sea, but it was my ocean that I was on the water of. And that's what you need to remember. What you're creating and what you were born to create, who you were put here to be, and the reason why they find you such a threat is the water that's going to keep you afloat in your boat when you're getting to where you need to be in order to be able to turn your pain into power. Because the Lord promises you, He promises you that, and God's word is law. God does not lie. And when He promises, if you accept your ascension and you go through the hell that He's going to put you through in order to purify your sins and burn away everyone and everything that is no longer conducive to your development and growth, He promises at the end, not only do you get supernatural power, but you become the master of all that you create. It's promised. You become the guru. You become the master. You become the expert. You become the trailblazer. You become the next Mozart. You become the next Charles Dickens. You become the next name that is remembered in your field of expertise for the rest of your life, till long after you're gone. But you have to do the work to prove that you've earned it. And in order to do that, he has to burn away everyone and everything that is a danger to you, that is threatened by you, that is holding you back. You know, whether it's physically, mentally, psychologically, financially, he has to burn it all away. He has to set fire to the whole damn thing so that you can rise from the ashes. And that's the thing they forgot about me, because they don't understand the occult. They didn't realize I was already born a phoenix. I was already born as a phoenix. So I was born to be able to withstand everything being burnt down so that I could rise again. And it's been getting burnt down so I can rise my entire life since the second I was born. Because you have to remember, I had to fight for survival because my mother had cervical cancer when she was pregnant with me. So I'm a miracle birth. I shouldn't have never ever have been born. So I was conceived fighting to survive. Because I'm a Scorpio, I'm a phoenix. I glow in the dark. I was born in the underworld. So when they tried to send me there, all they did was send me home. And I knew exactly what to do. And see, this is the thing. When I have my radar show and I'm able to take all of this out there, when I know what your star signs are and all that sort of thing, I'm going to be able to show you what animal totems to use. I'm going to be able to show you exactly what to use in order to turn your struggle to turn it around and make you a survivor, to turn your power into pain, to turn your story into triumph, to turn your battle into victory. And that's probably the biggest lesson I've learned of all, is that out of all of it, see, one of the symptoms of an ascension when you go through the ether stage, the air to ether stage, is that you want to talk about your journey and how you survived it, and you want to show others how to survive it. What should have been rage at my racial abuse, what should have been anger at the way I was treated because of my ancestors, because of my bloodline, because they judged me for the colour of my parents' skin and, you know, where my ancestors came from and all that. Instead of crying, instead of being angry, instead of having rage and turning it into something vicious and nasty, I took the moral high ground and I dealt with it all using the laws of common sense and the laws of the judiciary. Because when I stand up and face them all in court, my evidence can't lie against any of them. Presidents, prime ministers, billionaires, ex-husbands, my evidence will speak for itself. And that's the greatest thing. That's the seed that has come out of all of it. I was always going to write the movies and books and stuff like that by the time I got to build my school anyway. But the one thing that I would never have gotten to be able to hand people out of this whole thing, had I not have gone through that experience, is teaching people how to fight their own fight, giving people the answers, handing them the laws, handing them the way to fight their oppressors, whether it's their exes, their bosses, their prime ministers, their presidents, whoever. Because they underestimated my intelligence. If none of this had happened, I would have ended up in America with Martin, and a lot of this stuff would have been written anyway. I would still have gotten the school, I would still have been saving children, it just wouldn't have been on the bigger scale. But I still would have done it. I still would have achieved everything I was setting out to achieve. But if I hadn't gone through what I went through, I wouldn't have been able to hand people the knowledge and the laws and the answers and how to deal with it themselves on a global scale. And so I am the master ascension scientist. I am the master occult physicist. I am the master biorhythmic engineer because of what my ex did to me 4 years ago today. Learning is knowledge, knowledge is wisdom, wisdom is power. So don't let anyone tell you that you are dumb. Don't let anyone tell you you're ugly, that you're useless, that you're lazy. If you know in your heart that what they're saying to you is, if it's hurting your heart and it's making you sad and you know it's not true, then that is the red flag to tell you that you're a threat to them, and it means that everything you are is because they're jealous of you. So then ask yourself, why are they jealous of me? It must be because I'm something special. Because a narcissist only targets the rare. R-A-R-E. A narcissist spots the rare qualities in people and then actively works to try and control it and smother it and shut it down by any means necessary. Financial, physical, emotional, mental. They don't go after ordinary everyday people. They only target people that they consider to have rare personality traits. And it's the people with the rare personality traits that end up being the what I call a high-functioning, creative, empathic genius. They're the writer. They're the ones who have the potential to be the next Mozart and Dickens and Edgar Allan Poe's and, you know, Kurt Cobain's, and they only go after people they know is a threat to them. But in order to control it, they have to lead you to believe that they're on your side and they're your friends. It's the Aryan aliens. It's, how they say the Pleiadians act all benevolent, that, they're there to help people, and that it's not. It's all an act. And I knew they were targeting my son for a reason, Thomas. I knew it. He's everything that the Aryan cult want. They like tall people. It's all to do with like height and intelligence and strength and, yeah. Whereas Thomas is built like the Viking Celt picked Gaul that he is. Gabriel's the mighty. Although he's still going to be tall. I think he's as tall as me now, if not taller. But I knew they were targeting Thomas for a reason. And I keep saying to them that they're grooming Thomas. They're targeting Thomas for something. And I don't know what it is. But I got to save him. And I was absolutely right. Now that I understand about the whole Aryan alien cult of Odin thing, I 100% get it now. Why Chris and his cult and that were targeting Thomas and neglecting Gabriel. And they hate strong women. They hate strong, intelligent women. They find them the biggest threat of them all. Because they're misogynists but I would have been none the wiser if he hadn't have did what he did this time 4 years ago. This time 4 years ago, I was thrown into the bowels of hell. And I came out with Odin and Hades and Satan as my best friends. They're on my side now. They're helping me bring all that shit down. I wouldn't, the worst thing they ever did was target me that day, was come after me, because now I'm tearing it all down with the help of the people they thought were going to eat me alive once they threw me into the pits of hell. But I'm granddaughter Earth. I'm the granddaughter of Earth. My grandmother is Papatūānuku, and her belly is molten lava. That's her heartbeat. I mean, at the start of my story, the rise of the Dragon Queen, it starts with her being born around the sulphur and the lava and the pumice and, all of it. When she breaks out of her little topaz gem to be the little wonky winged dragon that she is, and her father is encouraging her to fly even though all the other dragons are laughing at her because she's got a crooked spine and her wings all wonky, and when she tries to fly, she flies in in circles and she's getting mocked by the other dragons, other little younglings in there, and her father's giving her encouragement to keep flying and be strong in that, and because then the more she flies the stronger her spine becomes. And then little do they know that she ends up breaking out of the underworld and becoming Princess Anahita. She gets her water wings, she becomes a water dragon, a water goddess, Anahita, and then she trains to become Brahena Saithusa, the gold dragon. She ascends. She was always born to be the gold dragon. Her destiny was to be the gold dragon. But she had to earn her wings. And in order to earn her wings, she had to get a spine. See, because I was born with a degenerative spinal disease. It's all. Little did she know that when she was mocked for having crooked feet and, a crooked spine and all of that sort of thing, that she was destined to become the gold dragon who was going to end up sitting on her North Star watching over all the children and all the land. That's the rise of the Dragon Queen. Another story that I wrote. So it's basically the prequel to the Amber Rose. It tells the story of who she is before she marries her Moon King. I want you to know that if I can survive everything that I've survived, you can survive it too. And if nobody else in the world believes in you, if nobody else in the world helps you, believe in yourself and help yourself. It's okay to rely on yourself. But when I get out of here and my cage comes down and I'm finally set free to fly out into the world, I will find you and you'll have me. You'll have my radio station, you'll have my stories, you'll have my movies, you'll have my talks and discussions and interviews and things like that, and then you'll at least have me, and then you won't be alone. And as long as you're listening to me and following the sound of my voice, even on your darkest days, you will never be alone. You will always have me, because that's the one thing I said when I came out of this, when they let me out, is that I never ever wanted another person to go through what I went through without anyone being able to explain to them what the hell they'd just gone through. I turned what happened to me into a science. And now I'm the world's only ascension scientist. I'm the first, a trailblazer. That's what I was saying. You become the master of your field. I am the world's only occult physicist. I am the world's only ascension scientist. I'm the world's only biorhythmic engineer. And I'm going to use all my expertise and all my knowledge to give you the strength and the power to stand up and face your trials and tribulations on your own, with me being your guiding light. Just follow the sound of my voice. Until I can be there in person, until I can present myself, I just please let me get my teeth fixed first. Because my teeth are the last. As long as my tooth is broken and my teeth aren't, my fillings aren't fixed and that, you're always going to see the damage of the abuse. But when my teeth are fixed, it means that the abuse, like there's no more evidence of the abuse. Other than my scars, but you'll never see them. It'll only be my future husband that sees my scars. And it doesn't matter where you are or what you're going through in the world, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm going to be that light for you. In 2019, when I started going into the underworld, and I came out, I vowed I was never, ever, ever going to let anyone go through what I was put through at the hands of everyone who put me through it by themselves ever again. And that I was going to figure out the answers as to why it was happening, because everybody was getting it wrong. They were calling it mental illnesses and all of that. And then when Chris did what he did 4 years ago today, it was kind of like the last piece of the puzzle. Because being locked up where I was able to observe it all from the point of psychiatry and psychology and human behaviour and all that. And I love studying human behaviour more than anything in the world. And I can now hand you the answers. Why you're having paranormal activity, why you're experiencing supernatural stuff, why you were chosen to go through these trials. Because you have to understand, God only chooses the strongest. The weak don't survive the ascensions. He only chooses the bloodlines that he thinks offer the strongest person in order to represent their ancestors. But how you deal with everything is going to decide your fate. And if you just roll your sleeves up and say, right then, I'm just going to deal with it, and I'm going to have faith and all of that, like all the obstacles start getting removed, all the answers start coming to you. Suddenly, the things that you thought were insurmountable odds and all of that, paths start opening up, doorways start opening up, windows start opening up. And then before you know it, you're out the worst of it, and you're suddenly left with all these answers and all this knowledge and wisdom. And it's like, okay, well, I can do something with this. And so you write the book, you make the movie, you do the podcast, you do the painting, you take the photos, whatever it is you do, whatever your medium is. And then next thing you know, you're on a whole new different trajectory. And that's the point. You got to pivot. You can't see in the dark while you're blind. And your abusers, because trust me when I say there'll be gangs of them, it won't just be the one abuser, because you got to remember they bring other people in. And I was dealing with Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Chris and all of that. Chris was like one of the last pieces to the puzzle they brought in. They do everything they can to keep you blind. Messing with your social media, threatening, trying to make you feel like a victim, so that you'll cry and feel sorry for yourself, because when you do that, they're winning because they've got in your head. When they mess with your emotions, they've messed with your mind. Oh, we're going to mess with her money so that, she loses money. And And I knew, and I just thought, well, I'm being watched. Everyone, the bank knows, my phone company knows, it's all documented, it's all evidence. So when I take it to court, I've got the proof. Because they keep forgetting that they brought other people in to watch what was happening to me. I know that there's people behind the scenes watching everything that's going on in my life from every aspect. And unlike them who keep changing their stories and lying and trying to break all sorts of laws to cover up their nefarious activity, I've stayed true and honest and consistent the entire time. Nothing about my story, nothing about my will or determination has changed from day one. They can't catch me out on anything because I've been honest the whole time. Because the narcissist will always underestimate your intelligence. They're relying on the fact that they've beaten you down enough that you're not strong enough to fight for yourself. And they want you crying. They want you breaking down and crying because then it makes them feel like they have that power over you. And that's all the more reason why you need to get back up, brush the dust off, and keep walking. You're gonna have to muster all the supernatural strength that you can possibly muster, but you cannot let them win. Because if they break you, then that's you going back down into the underworld. Every time you fall, every time they break you, every time they see a crack, that's you going back down into the underworld. And it gets harder to get back up the more they push you down. You're allowed to be sad, you're allowed to have a tonguey, you're allowed to have a cry. You know, like Jesus, Mary and Joseph, man, some of the shit they put you through. But it's more like when you look back at what you've gone through, you don't cry because of them. You cry for yourself because it's like, look what I survived. Look what I had to go through. Look at everything I've been put through. Look at it all. Could any of them survive a month of what I've been put through since 2019? None of them would have survived a week in the 4.5, nearly 5 months of me being locked up. Being starved, being forced to swallow poison, being racially abused by the inmates. I was the only person in the ward who wasn't given a electronic tag for my door. I used to have to ask for permission for my own bedroom door to be unlocked every single time, whilst everyone else had these wristbands to come and go as they pleased. And then I was the only one whose phone was never charged. When I had to get my phone charged, we forgot. Oh, sorry, we used the wrong plug. Until my blonde angel came and just gave me the cord to do it myself. And I think I had women try and kiss me. I got to have feasts of Saint Philomena. It wasn't all bad. But I cry for Amber because I never got to say goodbye. I cry because I miss my boys. My boy's 18 in January. I cry for the things that it's okay to cry about, but I never cry because of them. I never cry because they tried to do something to break me. I cry because I'll hear a song that will remind me of Amber. Or I'll cry because I'll see a photo of me with my boys. And I think, holy crap, what the hell were we put through because of that man? I cry for them because I still have the screenshots of them saying, Mummy's locked us inside again, can you watch the cameras all night? So here I am sitting in the hospital, staying awake all night, watching to see when his car's going to turn up on the camera before he shut the cameras off and I was no longer able to watch over my boys. You know, I've still got those messages. I've still got the screenshots of when he suddenly cleaned the oven, when he fed the boys the pizza. Remember, because he put the cocaine on the pizza and then Gabriel got sick. And then he suddenly cleaned the oven. I've still got it all. The terrified messages from my boy. He put my boys through emotional hell and then had the audacity to turn them against me. Because he didn't want to get caught lying. Because my boys used to say, you wait till we get on that stand. I've got a few things I want to tell that judge. Gabriel, you wait till I turn 18, I'm going to sue the NHS myself. He couldn't have that because my boys were witnesses to what happened that night. And even though my boys turned on me, I've never stopped fighting for them. A mother never stops fighting for her children. I keep praying for a miracle. Just get me my justice, get me my money, and then hopefully I can just get me and my boys and get out of here and give them the life that they deserve, the one that we were building together before all the shit kicked off. I'm determined to give them the best life if I have to spend the next 80 years making up for the last. I was going to say 4, but it was before that. Then I'll do it. When I'm dead and they're old, whether they've got families of their own or not, the revenue from my empire will be fattening their nest and feathering their nest. Long after I'm gone, they will know that all that money that pours into their bank every day, every month, every year, until they're dead, and pass on to their children or whoever, it was because their mum refused to give up and was determined to fight their father. To survive narcissistic abuse. That's my legacy. My legacy will be counted in the pounds and dollars that go into their bank long after I'm gone. That is the evidence that their mother survived their father. And so I'm paying it forward. And that dream I had from 2007, the Southport dream, when the riot started and the Queen's money was laying on the ground. Well, now I understand why the Queen's money was laying on the ground, because they're trying to get rid of the Queen's money. You know, they're trying to get rid of the money, the Bank of England and all that. They're trying to turn everything digital so that they can steal the wealth from the king and everybody else. But in the dream, I knew that I could stuff my pockets with that money, but it would be wrong to just keep it. I knew I had to do good things with that money, and that's exactly what I'm doing. When I get out of here and I get this lawsuit money, and trust me when I say every single one of them's going to pay for what they put me through, and my children and my sister, every single one of them. I'm going to do good with it. I'm going to pay it forward, and then I'll be able to help people like you. You'll be able to come to my foundation, come to my retreats, come to my school, come and indulge in my products and my treatments and my services and my shops and my movies and my books and my parks and my tea houses and that, and I will be able to come and show you how to heal from everything that I've just recovered from. And when you go home, when you leave the gates of my foundation, you're going to feel like a brand new person. So if you can't have faith in anybody else, have faith in me. If you are surrounded by darkness and there is no light, I will be your light. I will be your guiding light. I'm going to show you the way. Just have faith in me. And if you have any questions, you know where I am. Email in the description box, or, reach out on the... I think I've opened up the comments thing. But yeah, if you need me, you know where I am. Don't let the narcissists win. And it's not just going to be your ex or your parent or whatever. They're going to bring other people in, your bosses, your employees, cops, judges, lawyers, presidents, prime ministers, billionaire, lunatic, space travelling aliens. And just remember, it's because they're threatened by you and you're better than that. So I'm going to go and get my hot water bottle now. I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō.